Mr. Viktor Orbán to the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
You wrote on Facebook yesterday that there is a pope. There is hope. Based on this, what do you expect from the new pope regarding the issues of Christianity and foreign policy?
Well, I usually follow the processes of the Vatican for two reasons. First of all, the Vatican is a state and it is part of the international diplomacy. It's a strange state because it's not led by the chancellor. There is a chancellor too, but it is only led by the man of God. That is why it is a state of its own. It is worth mentioning that we should pay at least twice as much attention to what comes as a message. Secondly, I also pay attention to what comes as a man of God, because a man needs spiritual guidance and support. I think the Pope is not North American, but this will be shown by the analysts, because he was born in Chicago, but if I understand correctly, he came from Peru. And in this sense, he will probably continue what Pope Francis started. So if I have to say something quickly, I would say that I do not expect great changes. Now perhaps the more important question is why the Holy Father is so important to us. Not only his personality, but it is also very important that the world has a Holy Father. On the one hand, there are Catholics and there are Reformatists. Hungary is such a country. I think we all need a spiritual leader in our own church. The modern world is trying to do this with psychologists, but what we really need is not someone to handle us, but to have a spiritual leader. And the Catholics certainly view the Holy Father in the same way. But it doesn't matter to the Reformatists who the Pope is, what the Pope says, what he says, what beliefs he strengthens, because we need a spiritual and faith-based certain point of view in the world. You see, in such a confusing world where the values of the Church are constantly under attack, so I think Calvinist brothers also need someone to listen to, who can relate to this, who can be a kind of spiritual and faith-based support point for all Christians. I hope this will be the case after this.
Well, we'll see. This will be revealed in the coming weeks, months. However, it is certain that Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, spoke at the European Parliament this week, and she said that Ukraine must accelerate its membership in the European Union, because this could be the strongest security guarantee. And she also said that they are working to open all membership lists this year. How realistic does she see that this will really happen this year?
Well, the political decision was born. This decision was born against Hungary because we do not support Ukraine's membership, and the accelerated membership is definitely not. In fact, there were two important speeches in the European Parliament by the European People's Party and von der Leyen. The thing is, as Robert Fico said in response to this speech, what we heard there was economic suicide. So Ukraine's membership in the Union is economic suicide. Well, I'm glad that not only Hungary sees it this way, but now there are other European leaders as well. Our hope is tied to the countermeasures. Now the European leaders decided in the first place by the People's Party, because that's the leadership here, that then the war must be continued. The sanctions must be maintained, the Russian energy must be completely withdrawn from Europe, then the European economy will be what it will be. Our hope is in the opposite direction. We hope that's why we work, not just hope, but work, to be peaceful. If it is peaceful, it is possible to finally throw away the sanctions. If we throw away the sanctions, the energy will be cheaper. And if the energy is cheaper, the economy will get momentum, and it will be easier for the families as well. Unfortunately, the union decided, and it has now been strengthened, that they will move in the opposite direction. This is the reason for the Hungarian internal political disputes, because there are two kinds of parties in Hungary. There are those who follow the decision of the European leaders, von der Leyen and the European People's Party, such as the DK, such as the TISE, who sit there in the European Parliament, and we are the ones who stand on a national basis and oppose.
We'll talk about the internal politics in a moment.
In fact, we don't even oppose the parties, we say against them.
Yes, we will talk about the internal political disputes as well, but von der Leyen also mentioned it as a tool for joining Ukraine, that it is necessary to stop the import of Russian energy carriers to a full extent. How could this affect the European and Hungarian energy prices, and in general, the reduction of GDP?
We are now talking about the fact that Hungary, by making huge concessions, was able to solve the fact that, despite the sanctions against Russian energy, we pay the second, third, or cheapest energy price to families in Europe. This is true for gas and electricity. So, for example, Hungarian families are getting energy at a low price today, and so is their budget, which of course is not low here either, but it is far from the rest of the country. Kárpátalja paid around 260 to 280,000 forints in a heating season. In Slovakia, it is around 480,000. In Poland, it is around 880 to 900,000. Now, if the energy price rises, and the Russian energy, gas and oil embargo from Europe means that the price is rising, because Hungary has been getting energy cheaper from Russia so far. If they ban us from this, now let's assume that they have the right to do so, but their intention is to declare this anyway. So if they ban us from this, then Hungary has to pay about 800 billion forints more. We calculated this at the government meeting. The calculations go from 600 billion to 800 billion. Here, we can count on our country and Fidesz, KDNP, who do not belong to the European parties in power, because we are against the European opponents, and we did not vote for this, and we will not support it.
At the same time, they say that they will accept this plan even against the will of Hungary. What can be done to prevent this, and how can this be helped by the current parliamentary vote?
Well, I see that in the coming weeks, months, there will be serious struggles for Hungary, personally for me as well. In Brussels, we have to fight so that the Hungarian households do not force them to pay twice as much for energy, for electricity as before. We have to gather allies, we have to prepare legally. There really is a plan to play out the decision, to build on the unanimity that has been built so far. And to be able to make a quality decision, I need strength and help for this fight. So the Vox 2025, which is about joining Ukraine, is directly related to energy prices and the reduction of energy costs. So I ask everyone who wants to help the government, for me, so that we can fight well for the protection of low energy costs in Brussels, to help us and take part in the Vox 2025 vote.
You mentioned that on one side of this issue is Fidesz, and on the other side is DK and TISZ, as we look at the Hungarian internal political breakdowns. At the same time, the president of the TISZ, in an open letter signed by the president of the People's Party on Monday, wrote that, I quote, "Ukraine did not deserve to join the EU in the accelerated process. What is it that makes you think of your opponent in spite of this?"
Well, look, most of all, because the same party leader said that he would never represent Brussels. And he also said that he would set up the Security Law Institute. On the other hand, he is in Brussels, and because of the crimes committed in Hungary, he used the security law in spite of the violation of the security law and is hiding behind it. He continues politics. So it's hard to take seriously anyone's opinion if he has previously played his word. That's why I think it's such a joke. I know the European People's Party from the inside. The TIS party can tell me what it wants. We have been a member of the European People's Party for many years. Even Helmut Kohl invited us there at the end of the 1900s, at the beginning of the 2000s. I know everyone, from the inside, from the outside, from the outside, everyone. I know how it works. There is no story in the European People's Party. We came out of it. So we left the European People's Party there because in the case of migration, they wanted to force us to leave the EU or Brussels. So whoever is in the European People's Party, if he is there, he has to accept what the European People's Party is. This is a disciplined party. who does not step in at night, does not step in at once, does not step in at night. The thing is, in addition, the European People's Party also stated that it wants a change of government in Hungary, and will help a government in Hungary to power, which, by the way, will keep the policy of Brussels, the policy of the European People's Party. This means today that we have to support the war, we have to take up Ukraine, we have to accept migration, and in the case of gender, we have to accept the position of the European mainstream. Whoever is in the People's Party, this represents whatever he says, whatever he writes, whatever he says.
The other Ukrainian support is the Democratic Coalition, which was mentioned by Ferenc Gyurcsány. Yesterday he reported that he is leaving the Hungarian public life. What do you think about this departure, and how can it change? Can the Democratic Coalition's policy change after this?
Well, it's better not to deal with other things than to spray on your own home. But maybe I can allow myself. The first is that the DEK is fighting for life and death with TISE, so not with the government. The DEK government match was killed. It was decided by the elected citizens 4 or 5 times. Here the fight is really for the leadership role and survival of the opposition. We see a TISE-DEK match, and of course the DEK. People thought that they had better chances. This is their party, their decision. I don't even want to evaluate it. But the thing is that Ferenc Gyurcsány, who is the new leader of the DEK, I could only say that I agree with them. It can't be easy to decide to separate a person's life from his ex-wife or husband. This is a private matter. It should not be included in this policy. All we can say is that we agree with them.
Speaking of internal politics, yesterday a voice recording was made where the Minister of Home Defense talks about the fact that they are building a fighter-capable military force and that they have to stop at the 0 phase of the road to war. According to the TSE, this proves that the Hungarian government is not a peaceful party, it is specifically preparing for war. How do you see this statement that we hear in this recording? How much does it contradict the previous peaceful party position?
In that recording, if it is written as I read it, then the official position of the government can be heard. The government's position is that it is a peaceful force, a peaceful military force. The Hungarian Home Defense should not be confused with a fighting military force. There is a fighting military force, a civil peaceful military force that continues peace. The Hungarian Home Defense has the responsibility to defend the country in case of an attack, where fighters are needed. We need a military force that is ready and capable to fight for the freedom and independence of Hungary if they attack us. We do not need uniform workers. We need fighters. Once again, we need strength. We accept this. This is our official position. We do not have to hide it, because it is mentioned in all government documents. What bothers me more is the position of the former chief of staff in a dog comedy. I excuse the former chief of staff. I did not give him any basis for this. I do not think it is necessary because the military force should not be involved in political debates. I think it is good if the military force is involved in party politics. Of course, the national strategy is an important factor, but party politics should be kept away from fights and debates. The constitutional system is also built on this. The military force should not be involved in political debates. If something happens, I try to comment on it as soon as possible, because any delay raises the military force in the world of political debates. I did not comment on the resignation of the former chief of staff. Yesterday, however, I received information that clarifies the real reason. I did not feel the Hungarian military force safe because I saw that the leadership of the Ukrainian party was supposed to be of the Hungarian party.
Let's be honest, he took the Hungarian interest so that it could be served through the Ukrainian party. But this is a mistake. This is not decided by the leadership of the military force, but by the political leadership of the Ukrainian party.
The Ukrainian support in this war and later in the European membership process is the opposite of the Hungarian interest. We have the right to decide this, although Mr. Weber said in the European Parliament that the Ukrainians have the right to join the European Union. This is a mistake. The Ukrainians have the right to apply to the European Union. We have the right to decide yes or no. This is the correct description of the situation. I do not accept any pressure from the outside, not even from within the Hungarian military, which wants to direct the Hungarian political leadership to follow the interests of the Ukrainians. There was also a personal matter. I am sorry that the former head of the leadership stepped on the political stage because I thought he would hide his shame. Because if it turns